Sun Cuffie City was controlled by 3 people. Not the mayor, not the law, 3 people, and everyone in town knew it. They knew it the way you know a wound that won't close, not because anyone told them, but because they had learned to live around it, to lower their eyes at the right moment, to cross the street before they were told to. Everyone knew. Everyone except the woman who rode in early that Tuesday morning and sat down at the wrong table. Sun Cuffie City in the summer of 1882 was the kind of place that had earned every bad thing ever said about it. It sat at the end of the cattle trail, the last stop for cowboys who had ridden north from Texas for weeks, pockets finally full, looking for somewhere to let it all go. Loud, violent, profitable. Those 3 things together always attract a certain kind of person. Most of them moved on eventually. 3 of them didn't. The Cord family had arrived 4 years ago. Wade, the oldest brother, broad, cold-eyed, the kind of man whose silence felt like a threat before he even opened his mouth. Reno, the younger brother, fast, restless, with the energy of someone who had been told his whole life that he was dangerous, and chose to become exactly that. And Lena, the sister, sharp, calculating, the one who watched everything and missed nothing, the quiet mind behind every move the family made. They came to Sun Cuffie City with a reputation from other territories, and one clear goal, to stay and to take what the place had to offer. So they stayed, and they took. 11 men confirmed dead in 4 years. Probably more that nobody could prove. Businesses taken over, families pushed aside, and a marshal, a man named Ike Toiver, who had once been brave and still remembered what that felt like, who made a quiet calculation one day and stopped enforcing the laws that would get him killed. The Cord family fell firmly into that category. The town had accepted all of it, not because they wanted to, because sometimes surviving looks exactly like giving up, and after long enough, it becomes impossible to tell the difference. The woman had not been told any of this. She rode in just after sunrise, when Sun Cuffie City was as quiet as it ever got. Her horse moved calmly, but her eyes were already working, watching, measuring, filing things away. She noticed the people first. The way they moved with the careful, practiced awareness of those who had learned to track certain individuals without appearing to track them. She noticed the 3 horses tied outside the Lucky Dice saloon at that hour. Early for most people, but not for people who had never gone to sleep. And she noticed her horse had not relaxed since they turned onto Front Street. The ears stayed up and working. That meant something. She tied her horse at the far end of the street, away from the saloon, in the one spot where it could see in every direction. She rested her hand on its neck for a moment. Then she walked into the nearest diner, sat down at a table near the back and picked up a newspaper. It was the wrong table. She didn't know that yet. 11 men had made that same mistake over the past 4 years. Every single one of them had stood up and apologized the moment they realized it. She ordered coffee. Wade Cord walked in at 8:15 with his siblings behind him. He stopped when he saw her sitting at his table. The room went quiet the way rooms go quiet when something bad is about to happen, and everyone already knows what it is. Wade stepped forward. He said nothing, just stood over her, using the silence the way he always used it, as something that usually did all the work without requiring anything further. She turned a page of the newspaper. "That's my table," he said. "There are other tables," she replied. She didn't look up. The diner felt frozen. "I don't think you understand the situation," Wade said. "I understand it fine," she said. "I ordered coffee. When it arrives, I'll drink it. Then I'll leave." Lena placed a quiet hand on her brother's arm. "Leave her," she said. "She's nobody." Wade studied her for a long moment. The worn jacket, the hat still on indoors, the newspaper held with the ease of someone who had no fear at all. Then he nodded slowly. "Nobody," he agreed. They moved to another table. Reno sat down across from her without being invited, smiling like he thought it was charming. "You got lucky," he said. "My brother let you go. That doesn't happen much." She looked at him over the newspaper. Just looked. For a few long seconds. Reno's smile didn't last. "I know," she said, and went back to reading. Reno stood up and walked back to his family. He said something low to Lena. Lena looked back at the table, this time with a different expression. More careful, more specific. The look of a woman storing something away for later. The coffee arrived. She drank it slowly, paid, folded the newspaper. Then she walked out into the morning sun and went straight to the undertaker's shop. The undertaker looked up when the door opened and did the quick professional reading that men in his line of work develop over years. The gun, the stillness, the quiet presence that certain people carry into a room like a second shadow. He had seen that kind of stillness before. It never arrived with good news. "Can I help you?" he asked carefully. She looked around at the finished coffins along the wall, the workbench, the tools. "Make 3 coffins," she said. "Have them ready by 4 o'clock. He paused. "For who?" She stopped at the door, turned back just enough to answer. "For whoever needs them." Then she was gone. He stood alone in his shop for a long moment after the door closed. Then he walked to his workbench and started measuring wood. Word traveled fast in Sun Cuffie City. By midday, the story had reached the Lucky Dice Saloon, as she had known it would, because in a town where 3 people had spent 4 years making sure nothing happened without their knowledge, information moved toward them, like water finding a drain. She was counting on it. She spent the rest of the morning learning Sun Cuffie City, the way she learned every town, not from the middle of it, but from the edges. Every alley, every rooftop, every choke point and blind angle. She moved quietly, and she moved fast, and when she was done, she knew that town better than most people who had lived there for years.
Now, before we continue, can you kindly tell us where you are watching from and drop your comment and also subscribe, because the story is about to get real.
She visited the marshal. He looked like a man who had spent 4 years trying to take up as little space as possible. She asked about the Cord family. He told her. 11 confirmed dead. Probably more. And then he said what men in his position always said. He had a family. He had made a calculation. She asked how old his children were. He blinked. 7, 9, and 11. She nodded, said nothing else. But something shifted in his face. The look of a man who had been waiting 4 long years for someone to ask that question, without telling him he was wrong for the answer he gave. Like a weight he had been carrying, had finally been acknowledged. She told him to send for the judge. Tell him the situation was resolved and his presence was required for sentencing. "Nothing has been solved yet," he said. "It will be," she replied. And she walked out. She went to Clara Garrett next, the woman who had refused Wade Cord 2 weeks ago and had been paying for it ever since. Clara told her everything, not because she trusted her, because she had run out of every other option, and this was a stranger who didn't have Cord business written on her. 9 against 1. "I've had worse math," the woman said. Then she walked back out onto Front Street. By late afternoon, Sun Cuffie City had gone quiet with the practiced efficiency of a town that had done this before. Doors shut, curtains shifted. The street emptied itself. She stood alone in the middle of it at 5 minutes to 4. The sun stretched long golden shadows across the dust. Here is something most people don't understand about the gunfighters of the frontier. The ones who survived were not always the fastest. Speed mattered, but it was never the whole story. What separated the living from the dead was almost never the draw itself. It was the decision made before the draw. Knowing where to stand, who to take first, what order, what comes next. A fast draw aimed at the wrong person, in the wrong sequence, was a dead fast draw. She had already decided her sequence at 3:30. She knew exactly how it would unfold before the first step was taken. The Cord family came from the north end of the street. All three of them, side by side, with the slow and deliberate walk of people who had done this before and knew exactly what it communicated. Wade in the center, Lena on his left, Reno on his right. Their 4 men spread out around them, 1 at the gallery above, 1 by the water trough, 2 at the saloon entrance, 7 against 1. They stopped 30 feet away. "I heard you ordered coffins," Wade said. "I did," she replied. "How many?" 3. Wade smiled with those flat, cold eyes. "Wrong number." "I don't think so," she said. The gallery man fired first. He had the angle and he knew it. He missed. Because she had already moved, 1 step to the left, changing the angle completely. And in the same motion her gun was out and the gallery man was finished before the echo of his shot reached the far end of the street. 1. The man by the water trough came fast. Got a shot off that passed close enough to move the air near her ear. The return shot was already on its way before he could pull the trigger a second time. 2. The pair at the saloon entrance broke position the moment he fell, 1 moving left, 1 moving right, and the gap their movement created between them cost them everything. 2 shots in the space of a single breath. 3, 4. Reno drew. He was fast, genuinely fast, the kind of speed that gets talked about for years. His hand was a blur, but Reno had spent his whole life being told how fast he was, and that certainty made him commit before he had fully read where she stood. His shot went wide. Hers didn't. 5. Lena had not moved since it started. She stood exactly where she had been, watching everything with the sharp, calculating attention of a woman running numbers in real time. 5 down, under 10 seconds. She completed her calculation, the same one she had been running for 4 years, and this time it came out different. She raised both hands slowly and let her gun belt fall to the street. 6. That left Wade. The control on his face was gone now. What replaced it was something raw, the specific expression of a man who has spent 4 years building something and is watching it come apart in under 10 seconds and cannot make himself accept it. He reached for his gun anyway. He was slow. He had always relied on Reno for speed and Lena for thinking and sheer numbers for everything else. He was slow and he knew it in the half-second his hand was moving and the gun was still not clear. She shot it out of his hand. His gun hit the dust. He stared at his hand. She walked toward him through the settling smoke with the same unhurried stride she had carried all morning. "Your sister made the right choice," she said quietly. "Make yours." Wade looked at Lena with her hands raised, at Reno on the ground, at the men who were not getting up. Then he sat down in the dust and raised his hands. The silence after a fight in a frontier town has its own particular quality. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something held. A collective breath that an entire street, full of hidden people, releases all at once when they understand it is finally over. Sun Cuffie City released it. Doors opened. People stepped outside slowly, blinking into the late afternoon light. Front street, filled with the faces of people who had been waiting for something to change. They had just watched it change. Marshal Toiver walked out with more purpose than he had walked with in 4 years. Something in his face that had been missing for a long time was back. Not quite what it had been before the calculation he made, but something real, something a man could stand behind. He arrested Wade, then Lena, who accepted the restraint with the quiet calm of a woman at peace, with the result of her own arithmetic. Reno was alive. The doctor appeared and began the work of keeping him that way, which Reno had not earned and would receive regardless, because that is what doctors do. The undertaker stepped out and made his count. 2, he said, not 3. Wait for the judge, she replied. The territorial judge arrived that evening. The truth came out, 4 years of it, finally spoken by people who had been waiting for someone to ask. Wade Cord was convicted and sentenced to hang. The undertaker built the 3rd coffin the following week. She had been right about 3. She was always right about the number. Clara Garrett stood at the door when she came to say goodbye. Thank you, Clara said, knowing it wasn't enough, saying it anyway. The woman nodded. She mounted her horse and rode out of Sun Cuffie City without looking back. People watched her go. They didn't know her name, only what she had done. She didn't come for glory. She didn't come for money. She came because something was wrong, and she fixed it. Then she moved on.